My name is Vincent Patrick O'Connor, and for 17 years, I was the head bartender and beverage director at the Copper Fox, a legendary whiskey bar in downtown Nashville that attracted musicians, writers, and whiskey enthusiasts from around the world. I wasn't just mixing drinks, I was curating experiences, creating cocktails that told stories, and building a community around the art of fine spirits. My specialty was what the industry calls craft cocktail archaeology, researching forgotten recipes from the golden age of bartending, understanding the historical context behind classic drinks, and adapting those techniques for modern palates while respecting their origins. The Copper Fox wasn't just a bar, it was a living museum of American drinking culture. When I started at the Copper Fox in 2006, it was already a respected establishment, but the cocktail program was basic. Good whiskey selection, competent bartending, but nothing that distinguished us from dozens of other upscale bars in Nashville. The owner, Margaret Sullivan, had inherited the place from her father and understood its potential, but needed someone who could elevate the drink program to match the venue's historic character. I changed everything about how we approached bartending. Instead of following standard recipe cards, I researched the history behind every drink we served. I studied pre-Prohibition cocktail manuals, tracked down original recipes, and learned the stories that made each drink meaningful. When a customer ordered a Sazerac, I could tell them about its New Orleans origins, explain why we used Peychaud's bitters specifically, and describe how the drink evolved through different eras of American bartending. More importantly, I created original cocktails that reflected Nashville's musical heritage while respecting classical bartending principles. The Hank's Redemption was inspired by Hank Williams' troubled relationship with whiskey, a complex drink that balanced Tennessee whiskey with Amaro and maple syrup, representing both the sweetness and bitterness of his legacy. The transformation took 3 years, but the results spoke for themselves. Food and Wine magazine named the Copper Fox one of America's best whiskey bars. Imbibe magazine featured my cocktail program in their annual Best Bars issue. Most importantly, we built a clientele of serious spirits enthusiasts who came not just for drinks, but for the education and experience that only the Copper Fox provided. My reputation in the bartending community grew beyond Nashville. I was invited to judge cocktail competitions, guest bartend at spirits festivals, and consult for other establishments trying to develop serious whiskey programs. My cocktail recipes appeared in bartending magazines and craft cocktail books. But bar success isn't just about mixing great drinks. It's about creating atmosphere, managing operations, training staff, and most importantly, building relationships with customers who become part of your extended community. I had regulars who visited the Copper Fox every week for years, not just for the drinks, but for the conversations about whiskey history, cocktail theory, and the stories behind the spirits we served. Margaret trusted my judgment completely. When I recommended investing in rare whiskey acquisitions, she supported it. When I proposed hosting educational tastings and cocktail classes, she gave me the budget to make it happen. When I suggested renovating the bar area to better showcase our whiskey collection, she hired the contractors I recommended. The Copper Fox became more than Margaret's business. It was our shared vision of what a great bar could be. A place where craftsmanship mattered, where knowledge was valued, where every drink served reflected respect for the art of bartending and the customers who appreciated it. Then Margaret decided to sell to Hospitality Ventures Group, a restaurant management company that owned themed establishments across the Southeast. The sale happened quickly. Margaret was in her 70s. Her children weren't interested in the bar business, and HVG offered enough money to secure her retirement. I understood her decision, but I also knew what it meant for everything we had built at the Copper Fox. Trevor Nash arrived as the new general manager 3 weeks after the acquisition closed. He was 32, had an MBA from Vanderbilt, and came from a background managing chain restaurants where success was measured by volume, efficiency, and standardized operations rather than craftsmanship or community building. His first staff meeting was about optimizing our operational model and implementing scalable systems that maximize profitability per square foot. The Copper Fox has a strong brand reputation. he announced to a staff that included bartenders who had worked there for over a decade. But we need to modernize our approach using proven hospitality industry methodologies and streamlined service protocols. I knew we were in trouble. Trevor's first initiative was restructuring our beverage program. Instead of the carefully curated whiskey selection that I had built over 15 years, he wanted to focus on high-velocity products, popular brands that moved quickly and generated higher profit margins. Rare whiskeys that took years to acquire and required customer education were deemed inefficient inventory investments. My cocktail recipes, which had taken years to perfect and had been featured in national publications, were to be replaced by simplified drink profiles that could be executed quickly by bartenders with minimal training. The historical context and storytelling that made our cocktails unique were dismissed as unnecessary complexity. Most importantly, Trevor wanted to eliminate the educational tastings and whiskey classes that had built our community of serious spirits enthusiasts. These events brought in dedicated customers and established our reputation as Nashville's premier whiskey destination, but they required time and expertise that didn't translate directly to immediate profit. Vince, I understand you're passionate about the craft cocktail experience, but we need to think about scalability and operational efficiency. Our customers want good drinks served quickly, not history lessons. I tried to explain that our customers came to the Copper Fox specifically because we offered something different from typical bars: knowledge, craftsmanship, and respect for spirits traditions. But Trevor had already decided that my approach was too specialized for HV's business model. You're thinking too narrowly about niche demographics. Our research shows that 68% of bar customers prioritize speed of service and familiar drink options over specialized knowledge and rare spirits. That research doesn't apply to our customer base, I said. The people who come to the Copper Fox are looking for exactly the kind of experience you're trying to eliminate. Vince, you're being resistant to data-driven insights. This is exactly the kind of thinking we need to evolve beyond. Over the following months, I watched Trevor systematically dismantle everything that had made the Copper Fox special. Our rare whiskey collection was sold off to reduce inventory costs. My signature cocktails were replaced with generic recipes that could be made by bartenders with minimal training. The intimate, educational atmosphere was transformed into a high-volume service model focused on turning tables quickly. The regulars started disappearing. Whiskey enthusiasts who had visited weekly for years stopped coming after discovering that their favorite rare pours were no longer available. The musicians and writers who had made the Copper Fox their creative sanctuary found the atmosphere too rushed and impersonal to inspire meaningful conversations. My role shifted from beverage director to senior bartender, responsible for executing drink orders efficiently rather than creating experiences or educating customers. The expertise I had developed over 17 years was now considered overqualification for the streamlined operations Trevor wanted. The final confrontation came during my annual review. Trevor sat across from me in the office that used to be Margaret's, flanked by Sarah Shun from Human Resources, as he delivered what he called performance optimization feedback. Vince, your technical bartending skills are solid, but frankly, your approach feels outdated for our current objectives. You focus too heavily on specialized knowledge and not enough on efficient service delivery and volume management. This from someone who couldn't distinguish between bourbon and rye whiskey, who had never spent time understanding why customers develop relationships with specific bars, who thought bartending was just a service industry job rather than a craft profession. We're looking for bartenders who can adapt to our streamlined frameworks and embrace high-efficiency service methodologies, he continued. The termination meeting was scheduled for the following Thursday. They offered a modest severance package, 2 months' salary and assistance with job placement. In exchange, I would sign a non-compete agreement preventing me from working at competing establishments within Nashville for 18 months. Trevor emphasized how much they appreciated my contributions and how difficult this decision was for the company. Sarah nodded sympathetically throughout, making supportive comments about my extensive industry experience and dedication to craft excellence. I signed the papers without argument and spent the weekend cleaning out my workstation. 17 years of recipe development, supplier relationships, and customer connections, all reduced to a single box of personal bartending tools and notebooks I wasn't supposed to take, but did anyway. But here's what Trevor didn't know. During my years at the Copper Fox, I had built relationships that extended far beyond the bar itself. Whiskey distillers, cocktail enthusiasts, industry professionals, and most importantly, the community of customers who understood the difference between bartending and drink mixing. I also knew things about Nashville's spirits culture that couldn't be learned from hospitality, industry reports and customer service metrics, which whiskeys attracted serious collectors, which cocktails worked best for different occasions, which techniques created drinks that customers remembered long after leaving the bar. Most importantly, I had been quietly developing plans for something Trevor knew nothing about. A new approach to whiskey bars that combined traditional craft with modern hospitality, creating spaces that served both serious spirits enthusiasts and casual drinkers without compromising either experience. 2 weeks after my termination, I received a call from David McKenna, owner of several successful restaurants in Nashville's Music Row district. We had met at industry events over the years, and he had been following my work at the Copper Fox closely. "Vince, I heard about the changes at the Copper Fox. Are you interested in creating something completely new?" I was. David offered me something Trevor never could: complete creative control and the backing to build a bar program from scratch based on my vision of what whiskey culture could be. He was opening a new establishment called The Listening Room, designed to combine live music with serious, craft cocktails in an intimate setting that honored both Nashville's musical heritage and its growing reputation as a whiskey destination. More importantly, David understood that great bars were built on expertise, community, and respect for both the craft and the customers. He wanted to create something that would attract both music industry professionals and spirits enthusiasts, a place where craftsmanship in both areas was celebrated and supported. Within 3 months of joining the Listening Room, I had developed a cocktail program that was already generating buzz in the bartending community. Instead of just serving drinks, we were creating liquid interpretations of musical stories, cocktails that captured the essence of famous songs, albums, or musicians through careful ingredient selection and presentation. My signature creation was The Outlaw's Lament, inspired by the outlaw country movement of the 1970s. It combined high-proof bourbon with bitter herbs and honey, served in a mason jar with a charred wood garnish that released smoke when the drink was served. The cocktail told the story of rebellious musicians who rejected Nashville's mainstream country establishment while honoring the traditional roots of the music. The response was immediate and overwhelming. The Listening Room became the preferred destination for music industry professionals, whiskey collectors, and cocktail enthusiasts who appreciated both the drinks and the stories behind them. We were booked solid within 6 months of opening, with waiting lists for our weekly whiskey education classes. More importantly, the community I had lost at the Copper Fox found us at the Listening Room. Regulars who had followed my career for years became our foundation customers, bringing friends and colleagues who wanted to experience what serious craft bartending looked like. A year later, Whiskey Advocate named the Listening Room Bar of the Year, citing our innovative approach to combining music and spirits culture. My cocktail program was featured in Food and Wine, Imbibe, and Garden and Gun magazines as an example of bartending that transcends service industry standards. Meanwhile, the Copper Fox was struggling under HVG's management. Customer reviews consistently mentioned poor drink quality, indifferent service, and the loss of character that had made the bar special. Several longtime customers posted online about their disappointment with the changes and their search for establishments that maintained the standards the Copper Fox had abandoned. Trevor had been reassigned to operational consulting, which in hospitality speak meant they had lost confidence in his management abilities. The turning point came when Nashville Scene's annual Best Bars issue featured a side-by-side comparison of the Copper Fox's transformation and the Listening Room's emergence. The article didn't directly criticize HVG's approach, but it highlighted the difference between bars that prioritized efficiency versus those that prioritized craft and community. 6 months later, Trevor called me directly. Vince, I think there may have been some misunderstandings about our vision for the Copper Fox. We've been reconsidering some of our operational changes, and there might be opportunities that would interest you. I let him finish before responding. Trevor, I appreciate the call, but I'm very focused on the listening room right now. We have a different philosophy about what bars should accomplish. What kind of philosophy? We believe that bartending is a craft that requires expertise, respect for traditions, and genuine care for the customer experience. That great bars build communities around shared appreciation for quality drinks and meaningful conversations. That some things can't be optimized without losing their essential value. The silence stretched between us. I understand you're working with some of our former customers, he said finally. I'm working with people who appreciate craft bartending and want to be part of a community that values expertise and tradition. The same community that the Copper Fox served before you decided to optimize it away. After we hung up, I sat in my office at the listening room, looking at recipe notes for our upcoming seasonal menu, thinking about the path that had led here. Trevor had made a calculated decision that my specialized expertise was less valuable than operational efficiency and standardized service. He had been wrong in ways that were becoming more obvious every month. The mistake wasn't just underestimating the importance of craft bartending. It was fundamentally misunderstanding what made certain bars successful. Trevor thought it was about volume, efficiency, and familiar products that appealed to broad demographics. But successful craft bars are built on expertise, community, and respect for both the drinks and the people who appreciate them. You can streamline operations, but you can't streamline the relationships and knowledge that create memorable experiences. 2 years later, the listening room had expanded to include a private whiskey club and a consulting division that helped other establishments develop serious spirits programs. My approach to combining music and cocktails had been featured in bartending textbooks and was being replicated by bars across the country. Meanwhile, HVG had quietly put the Copper Fox up for sale after 3 consecutive quarters of declining revenue and customer complaints. The bar that had once been Nashville's premier whiskey destination was now just another themed establishment struggling to find an identity. I didn't take satisfaction in their failure, but I felt grateful for the opportunity to practice bartending the way it should be practiced, with expertise, creativity, and genuine care for the customers who trusted us to create experiences they couldn't find anywhere else. At the listening room, I had built something better than what I'd lost. A bar program based on craft knowledge rather than operational efficiency, community building rather than volume management. My customers knew that when they visited us, they were getting drinks and experiences that reflected years of expertise and genuine passion for the craft. The hospitality industry will always need people who understand that behind every drink order, every customer interaction, every memorable evening, there are real people looking for experiences that enrich their lives rather than just efficient service delivery. Trevor learned that lesson through declining revenue and customer defection. I learned it too, but my education came with the satisfaction of building something that actually served both the craft and the community that appreciated it. These days I still work long hours, still research obscure spirits and forgotten cocktail techniques, still face the challenge of balancing artistry with business practicality. The difference is that now I work for customers who understand what craft bartending means, and with a team that shares my commitment to excellence. And when young bartenders ask me for advice about building a successful career, I tell them what my mentor told me 20 years ago: master your craft, respect your customers, and never let anyone convince you that expertise is just unnecessary complexity. It served me well, and it will serve them well too. The market has a way of rewarding genuine craftsmanship, even when the people managing businesses don't understand what craftsmanship looks like until it's too late. And when young bartenders ask me for advice about building a successful career, I tell them what my mentor told me 20 years ago: master your craft, respect your customers, and never let anyone convince you that expertise is just unnecessary complexity. It served me well, and it will serve them well too. Even when the people managing businesses don't understand what craftsmanship looks like until it's too late. And when young bartenders ask me for advice about building a successful career, I tell them what my mentor told me 20 years ago: master your craft, respect your customers, and never let anyone convince you that expertise is just unnecessary complexity. It served me well, and it will serve them well too. The market has a way of rewarding genuine craftsmanship, Even when the people managing businesses don't understand what craftsmanship looks like until it's too late. After the presentation, a familiar face approached me at the bar. It was Trevor, looking older and somehow more thoughtful than I remembered. "Vince, that was really impressive. I've been following your work at the listening room. Thank you." He hesitated, then added, "I wanted to apologize for how things ended at the Copper Fox. I didn't understand what we were dismantling when we implemented those changes." I nodded but said nothing. "The thing is," he continued, "I've been learning about craft bartending lately. Taking classes, visiting bars like yours, trying to understand what makes some places special and others just functional." "That's good to hear, Trevor. I realize now that efficiency and craft aren't necessarily opposing forces, that you can respect traditions and expertise while still running a profitable business. I just didn't know how to balance those things." As he walked away, I felt something unexpected, not vindication, but a kind of professional respect for someone who had been willing to admit their mistakes and learn from them. That evening, I received a text from David at the listening room. We had just been approached about opening a second location, this time in collaboration with a boutique hotel that wanted to create the definitive Nashville whiskey experience for visitors. Some stories, I realized, are worth raising a glass to.